I want to explain you why a brighter picture is not necessarily better. And I'm going to explain you that from a musician's perspective. I am a classical guitarist and I'm a guitar teacher, so I see the world differently, okay? So usually when we know something, we associate everything new that we learn with it. And that's a very important attribute of the human intelligence, okay? We associate things. So in music, I'm going to compare SDR with popular music and HDR with classical music, okay? Because that's the way I see it. And this is what happens. When we play a song, that's a classical song, okay? Classical piece. We start playing the song and we might think, man, the volume is so low, let me raise the volume. And then suddenly, man, you have to lower that because it's so loud. And the reason is, the classical music has a much higher dynamic range, okay? So what we are looking for with classical music is more expression, okay? And you get more expression when there is a bigger difference between the softest sound, the quiet sound, and the loudest sound. The bigger that difference, the bigger the expression can be. That's what we are looking for. That's HDR. Very, very low luminance and very high luminance. So what happens with popular music? This is what happens. You go to a recording studio, I've been in recording studios, I've recorded myself. So when you do a solo, with a guitar it doesn't happen because the guitar is not a very loud instrument, but it usually happens with trumpets and other instruments that are very loud. They record a solo, and then the solo is making a sound that is too loud. So let's say that this is the limit of how loud the sound can be, okay? So then the overall volume of the song is here. So on the recording studio, they want the volume of the song to be as high as possible. Why? And the same thing happens with the TVs. People want the brightest picture they can get, and it's not brighter for the right reasons, okay? So this is what happens. It is scientifically demonstrated that if people are listening to a song, okay, and with the same volume, they change to the next song, and the next song is louder, they like it more. Period. They will like it more, and they don't know why. The same thing happens. You change from dynamic tone mapping to HDR, and if dynamic tone mapping is brighter, you are going to like that more. There's no question about that. It's just the way we are. So what they are looking on the recording studio is, okay, if this trumpet is too loud here, we have to reduce the dynamic range. We have to compress that. Why? Because once we compress that, now we have more space to raise the volume, the overall volume of the entire song, so we can sell more, so people like it more. That's exactly what SDR is. Because there is a smaller dynamic range, you can just raise that. The brighter the TV, the brighter you can get the overall picture, but that is not something necessarily better. It is not better. So HDR is more absolute. HDR is following a curve. It is telling you exactly how bright things are supposed to be. So if this is supposed to be 70 nits, it doesn't matter that your TV can do 10,000, okay? Because your TV can do 10,000, that's not gonna change. That's gonna be 70 nits, okay? So what is going to change with a brighter display is the highlights, okay? It's like if you have a different instrument and you're playing live, that instrument is gonna be able to give you a much louder sound. It's gonna be able to give you more expression, okay? But that doesn't mean that that instrument has to play all the time loud, because if the instrument plays loud all the time, there's no expression. if the dynamic range, if the range is compressed, there is no art. The contrast is what gives you the better quality on the picture and artistically. The same thing happens with music, the same thing happens with the displays. So what people are looking for is for that dynamic tone mapping impression, and getting a new TV with higher HDR brightness, it is going to give you that. You're going to have a dynamic tone mapping option on the G3, and you can use it if that's what you like. That's all well and good. But the reason why I was saying on the previous video you might like SDR more, and is because what I don't want is you to think that getting a 2000 nits display is going to mean necessarily that everything is going to look brighter. And everything will look brighter because that G3, for example, is going to have a more relaxed ABL. So you're going to get more full screen brightness, okay? It is going to dim less depending on the window size, okay? But if you want that full screen brightness, you can get it on the C1 and doing those tricks on the service menu that I was sharing with you, and do it at your own risk. But HDR, let's say we are looking at a reference monitor, okay? Let's say we have a 1000 nits reference monitor that has no ABL. Let's say an ideal reference monitor that can give you 1000 nits full screen brightness, no ABL. And then we have that side by side with a 10,000 nits capable reference monitor, okay? And we are displaying the same picture. So the 10,000 nits reference monitor, let's say that it is capable of 10,000 nits full screen brightness, okay? There's going to be absolutely no difference for the most part on the picture. The only difference is going to be the highlights, okay? It's gonna be these small spots that are bright, the clouds, the sun, but you're not going to have that dynamic tone mapping punch if you have accurate settings, because HDR is an absolute, it's following a curve. So having a brighter TV, they are both going to look the same until 1000 nits, and then the difference is going to be that the 10,000 nits display is going to have brighter highlights. That's it. So that's what I was trying to explain you. If you are looking for that in your face, eye-searing brightness, you don't like HDR. Okay? Just use SDR and release all the brightness, because SDR is more compressed, so you can just crank that up, basically. That's what I was trying to explain, and I hope it is more clear now. Remember, I am not an expert, but I've been playing around with settings with this TV for almost 1700 hours at this point, okay? And I've seen the difference. When I raise the brightness and everything is bright, it's not better. That's why I don't like dynamic tone mapping. It is not better. What I like is the near black detail. I like that when the picture has a brightness that it feels right, and then you look at things that are bright and they pop, and things are not going to pop if everything is bright, okay? In music, if everything is loud, nothing is going to pop, nothing is going to have expression. That's it. that's the analogy between music and picture quality. So I hope you find that interested. Let me know if you have any questions, and I am also planning to do a video about what I don't like about the G3, and why. Basically, I don't like the. I'm gonna talk about that on the next video. There are some things that I don't like about all the new upcoming TVs, or most of them, announced on CES. I will do a video about that. So let me know if you have any questions.